June 5, 2021. Episode 6, What Remains of Us. 30th of Kythorn. Time of flowers, beginning of summer. Weather forecast, warm summer day with clear skies. So, as I mentioned, we had finally started taking our leave of the Hark's hellish lair, when Svend returned back from within its depths with a whole horde of nasty and angry kobolds chasing after him. What had at first been a simple stroll out of the cave, then became a mad dash as we crossed the threshold, and greeted the daylight with haste. Now, with the high sun's rays shining down over our shoulders, we looked back to find the uproar behind us had died. All of the kobolds that had given chase were now hanging back at the mouth of the cave, shooting us death glares from their positions in the shade, but unwilling to follow us out into the sunlight. Unsurprisingly, some of us felt the need to mock them, but most of us were ready to press on and forget about that terrible place entirely. I doubt that will be possible, given what we have found out. The concerns I have about what we discovered in that place, well, to say they make me weary, is a light way of putting it. We made our way north, back towards Zelbros, as it was the nearest civilization that we were aware of. Mince's armor did not seem to hold up as we continued, and she was soon shedding pieces of it on the ground. Kairax, who was holding Moose's father, Kelmorn, proceeded to fall behind the group some, in an effort to collect various plants and shrubbery. I figured she knew what was best to make use of, for her herbalism kit. Although the newly joined halfling seemed not to agree, as I had overheard him mumbling, before he waited behind to approach Kairax. They looked as though they were getting along well enough in the end though, because soon they were both falling behind collectively, as a pairing. And when Kairax felt the need to catch up, she made sure to scoop up the halfling, before making use of her long legs, so that we were all together instantly again. That, and she had provided him with a flower crown of his own. Sort of a rite of passage in a way, if you ask me. As we traveled, I noticed Svend walking in front of me, and the hilt of that large sword he doesn't use was just staring me in the face. I finally decided we were in a calm enough position for me to inquire about it. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Why would he have this large magical weapon on his person at all times, and never once draw it? Instead, he only uses the non-magical sword at his belt for some reason. Well, to my surprise, I don't know if I should have been surprised actually, after having thought about it more, but he genuinely was not aware of all of its magical properties. When I explained to him that it was magical, and all of the types of magic that was affiliated with it, which is nearly every school of magic, short of necromancy, he just kind of scratched his head and made it clear that he couldn't draw it due to the thread that was wrapped around its hilt and handle. I asked him if he would ever consider allowing an expert to examine it, and I was turned down at once. He also appeared to be extra protective of it. Come to think of it, I've never seen him without it since we met, like he even sleeps with it. And his response to my question was to ask me how I would feel if someone were to just tamper with my book, clearly offended. Needless to say, the conversation didn't improve much from there regarding the sword, but I did try and reach out to him. I suggested maybe we could learn from each other as a way of diffusing his temper, referring to his ability to read and write, and I suppose mine in physical prowess and reaction time. Though, I don't foresee myself ever being what one would consider strong. Sometimes when I speak to Svend, I feel like I'm speaking to a brick wall, in terms of getting nowhere. I cannot tell if he genuinely considers what I have to say, or if he just disregards it instantly, because he is either 1, too insulted or 2, doesn't consider my opinion noteworthy. It makes me both want to sigh and roll my eyes. Oh well. My traveling with this group should be nearing its end here soon. Once we make it back to Secomber, I should no longer need to deal with him. So I will try not to dwell on this anymore. As we arrived on the outskirts of Zelbros, Moose's mother Mincy, both relieved and excited to see civilization again, seemed to have an epiphany of anger swirl within her. She showed this by turning on Moose, and verbally attacking her for showing up at such a dangerous place to rescue her and her husband. It was a delicate situation, quite honestly, because here was a woman who had clearly been through an ordeal, and she was taking out her frustrations on her daughter. All because of how fearful she had been, after seeing that Moose had come to such a horrible place to rescue her. I tried to defend Moose, myself, but she turned on me next. Her assault on me didn't last long, because she was soon directing her anger at Kairax for failing to save her husband. Followed by Thane and Svend for assumedly dragging Moose and myself along for this adventure. Mincy had just gone back to yelling at me, when Thane was finally the first one who seemed to sway her anger by commending Moose for her courage and willingness to save her family. Then somehow Varlo's Kyojo's name was brought up, as he had been the proprietor of the quest. This really seemed to set Mincy off, as she then turned to the halfling, who is clearly a family member of the Kyojo clan due to his appearance, and made him the target of all of her wrath. Little of what he said to defend himself made a difference, as she was soon punching him across the face with what strength she had left. I would soon find out that this halfling was not just a member of the Kyojo clan, but was the fabled middle child and missing brother, turned great adventurer, Kyokyojo. And Mincy had just struck him, in front of all of us. Thankfully, he was understanding due to the situation, and did not hold a grudge. He also ended up being a key factor in helping us to talk Mincy down. With his help, we were able to convince her that getting her husband aid was far more important than pointing fingers. Finally, with Mincy's anger quelled, her body exhausted and her face reduced to tears, Moose was able to comfort her poor mother, and we headed towards town quickly. We made it back to the halfway inn and tavern at last. Kairax got Kelmorn upstairs and onto a bed, so she could prepare to help him further. Meanwhile, Moose basically threw money at the innkeeper. She must have given them a lot, because they were basically at our beck and call for the entirety of our stay after that. We asked about the doctor, but the innkeeper informed us that he was away from town, and that it had already been for a few days, so there was no telling when exactly he would return. Kairax then took the initiative in treating Kelmorn, but his injuries were extensive. Both of his legs were broken, he had at least one broken rib, perhaps more, and he was also suffering from blood loss. Moose and I tried to grab what we could to help Kairax treat him, while Thane pushed Mincy to go clean herself, by saying he would assist Kairax in cleaning Kelmorn up. While Moose and I were out, she had a bit of a breakdown herself. I've seen some sobbing people in my day, so I felt equipped to handle it. I was able to comfort and encourage her enough, so that we could keep moving and get back to the inn quickly. Once we made it back, Kairax announced that she was going to attempt to reset the bones in Kelmorn's legs. She instructed anyone who didn't wish to stomach something so painful to leave. Moose made sure to leave the room and head downstairs. I had never seen anything like this before, and my curiosity got the better of me. It was alarming, to put it mildly, especially because Kelmorn woke up screaming due to the pain. I'm glad I remained in the room though, because I think seeing someone he recognized upon waking up in such a way, with someone as seemingly intimidating as Kairax hovering over him, well, it probably kept him from panicking more, which was good, because he was in no condition to. It fueled my heart with warmth to see Moose reappear in the room, upon hearing her father's voice. The two of them could finally be reunited. Excuse me. I mean, the three of them, as Mincy joined in too. Thank goodness this family is finally safe and together again. Kelmorn is a very endearing man. It was clear despite what he had been through, that he wanted nothing more than for his family to stop fretting over him and rest themselves. He encouraged both Moose and his wife to do so. He then also extended his hand to me, and thanked me with some of the kindest, most heartfelt words I think I may have ever heard directed towards me. He finished by asking me to also rest. I did as he asked, to put his heart at ease. It's hard to remember much after that. I know Kairax and Kelmorn were speaking to one another quietly, but sleep must have claimed me in mere minutes, after I sat down with my book open on one of the straw beds. Moose and I were some of the first ones to awake much much later in the day. We found a note left behind from Kairax. She had managed to procure us a cart, in which we could get Kelmorn and Mincy back to Secomber, safely in. Moose and I took that to heart, and quickly made to pack up all of our group's stuff ahead of time. Moose also was able to get the inn to pack us up some food for the road. They even let us take basically anything we wanted, or asked for. Thane managed to wake up Svend, who had fallen asleep at the bar, by throwing some cold water over him. Outside the cart was waiting for us, already set up with Nana, Svend's horse, and one of the other large horses hooked up to it. Svend and Thane helped us load everything up, and then we chose to wake Kairax up. Kairax and Svend were able to get Kelmorn down the stairs of the inn safely, and loaded up on the cart, with even his, Kairax-made flower crown, still intact. Moose made sure to thank the inn staff repeatedly, who were more than obliged to help us. And then finally, as a group we set off for Secomber once again. Moose, Kyokyojo, and her family rode in the cart, while Svend drove it. Thane, Kairax, and myself followed on the remaining horses. It took us about 4 days to travel back to Secomber. From the evening of the 30th of Kythorn to the 4th day of Flame Rule. In that time, we heard the story from Mincy about what had happened to them. They had been contacted by the Kyojo clan to help fortify some of the ships in Waterdeep. While on the way there, or back, can't remember, they ran into the legendary Kyokyojo of the Kyojo clan, whose reputation preceded him. Once they got to talking to him and let him know they had heard of him, he offered to protect them, while they were on their travels. Regardless of his protection, they were ambushed by the Hark's men, and all 3 of them were captured. The Hark then demanded that the Pomplades make his men powerful weapons. He would then proceed to brutalize Kelmorn, as leverage over Mincy, so that she would do as he ordered. Unbeknownst to him, that she was building a means for them to escape the entire time. Also, while on our travels, during one of the evenings we set up camp, Moose requested to see Svend's sword. This time we are speaking of the one at his belt. He begrudgingly and very anxiously allowed her to hold on to it for a while. And in that time, Moose was able to attune it with a sort of magical presence. She made sure to thank Svend for protecting her throughout the adventure, as she returned the sword to him. He seemed to notice the difference, and was visibly pleased, even if he had a hard time portraying his gratitude towards her. Next, Moose also asked for the knives Thane had managed to snatch away from Malik. Moose not only cleaned the knives, she also adapted one magically, so that after throwing it, it would then return to Thane's hand. Thane was very grateful and had no problem showing his gratitude in a gentlemanly fashion. Moose just let him know she was grateful for his assistance with helping her parents, and that she was still very much a fan of the great Sabatini. In time, we were also able to observe the weapons Thane had managed to bring back with us from the lair. The spear that Svend took, the one that had belonged to Cyanrath, had an obsidian tip and was clearly magical. The wood was dyed purple, and it was very beautiful looking, for that type of weapon. The other 2 weapons were scimitars. They were completely steel black and very unique looking. They weren't magical as far as we could tell, so perhaps their magical properties had come from the ones who had been wielding them. We had a few more conversations as we traveled. I learned that the ordeal we had been through did not seem to be your average adventure, based on Thane and Svend's experiences at least. I am deeply concerned about this, especially considering that followers of Tiamat seemed to be involved, and that they were able to capture not only Mincy and Kelmorn, but also the legendary Kyokyojo, as well. I think when we return to Secomber, it will be of the utmost importance that we let someone of high rank know what we have found out. Kelmorn fared well during our journey, despite the bad shape he had been in when we had set out. We still had planned on getting him to a doctor as soon as possible, but as the sun rose directly above us on the 4th day of Flame Rule, we were instead met with a very unexpected event upon arriving at the river gate of Secomber. A guard at the gate stopped our party and requested my name. He then informed me that he would be taking all of us into custody. I was very confused by this. I explained to him that we had injured people with us, and that they needed to be taken to a doctor. And then I demanded to know why. He did not seem to know, but he assured me he had been ordered to take me, and my entire group. I think I have a few guesses as to what is going on here. It very well could be a misunderstanding. I just hope we can get it straightened out quickly, not only for my desire to see home, but also because we have a lot more to do now that we are back, not excluding getting both the Pomplades the care they need. End of chapter. Notes that Siluca doesn't or wouldn't know. These are things Kyokyojo learned while soloing through town, and he made mention of them only to Kairax. Zelbros has an agreement with the Hark. He is not to cause them problems, so long as they don't cause him any. Many of the townspeople are aware of his lair in Moor Edge. The Hark can turn into a monster. It is clear that he has been given magical abilities. I saw him use a teleport spell. The cult of the dragon has come back. They are trying to recruit young people for adventuring.